In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a wonderful pyramid chart in chart.js. But chart.js doesn't allow or doesn't give you the option to do this by default. However, with some very clever tricks, you can create a nice, unique chart like this. So let's explore exactly how we can create this wonderful pyramid chart in chart.js. In this video, we're going to focus on how to create a pyramid chart in chart.js. So with chart.js, you can do a lot of things, and also creating a pyramid chart, but not straight out of the box, meaning we need to do some tiny adjustments on it and play around to be a bit more creative to find the perfect way to do it. But we're going to do it here straight away. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go here to the chartjs3.com website. Go to getting started, and in here I have a chunk of code. I've updated the code a little bit. However, the most important part here, if you want to understand the JavaScript section of this, which is the most important part, watch this video here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just paste this in here, and then I will cut this out, the title, and put it in here. Alright, and then save this. So once I save this and refresh, we have this nice bar chart here. Has some fancy design and everything, nothing special. So we have this, and what we're going to do now is basically we need to create a horizontal bar, so it will show the bars horizontally plus having it stacked as well. So we need two data sets, a male data set and a female data set. So to do this, what we're going to do here is the following. Go down here, and we're going to put in some basic information. I'm going to copy this part here just to make sure we have a second data set here, and I will say here this will be male and this one will be female. And then what I want to do here is the following. So in the options part, I will say here, because we want to convert this into a stacked version, so this would mean we need to say here index axis, and this will be focused on the Y, meaning that we will swap the x-axis and put them here. So all these values will be here. So if I refresh now, well, alright, there's some errors here. That's alright because we forgot the comma here. So make sure we save that. Refresh. Now we have it on horizontally, but we didn't stack them yet. So we have to stack them here as well. So here on the Y-axis, I'm going to put in a comma. And then I say here stacked, and this will be true. And then here on the x-axis, we just do exactly the same. We say here again, stacked, true, and make sure you put a comma here. Save this, refresh, and now we have them stacked. As you can see here, we have this stacked here, but of course we're not yet done. Let's do some adjustments here. What I want to do is I want to make sure that this part here would be the blue one, would be the male part, and the female part would be the pink or reddish color. So I'm going to remove everything here, and this value is the most important one, that is the color red. We do the same here. Say here, this is the color red. Alright, then next, this one, I'm going to delete everything except the second value, which is a blue color. So we're going to copy this or maintain this. I can just copy this one here for this, and we just put it here in the background color, and then we say here 0.2 for the transparency. Alright, so we have male, female, and then here what we need to do is give it the numbers. So we can say here this will be 65 plus, and then here we could say 0 to 13 or 12. Here what we do is 12 to 25. Oh, sorry, this should be 13 to 25. This should be 26 to 35, and this one will be 36 to 45. This one will be 46 to 55, and this one will be 56 till 65. Oh, let's see what's going on here. So we have everything here. Let's see, of course, commas. Make sure we have the commas here. Save this and refresh, and now there we are. So we have this now, and you say, well, this doesn't look really what we were expecting, and that's correct, because we need to basically, to get this correctly, we need to put here negative values So if I put these negative values here, we have this. And this looks fine, but of course it doesn't make any sense to see here -12, and I don't want, if you are basically the developer, you should have a function in here that figures out to convert all of these values into negative automatically. And the reason why is this, because if you will have to hard code it like this, it is not beneficial for you. So we need to fine tune this, because the danger would be you forget about it and you have a mistake. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to start converting this now, because we have a few items we need to solve. Number one, you can see here the axis or the x-axis has all negative values. Number two, because we have these data points have all negative values, the tooltip will also have a negative value. And then eventually as well, we need to make sure that this value here, while it is a negative value, it must be shown as an input as a positive value. Alright, but we want to make sure it's negative in this here, so it looks like this is a pyramid. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to change these values a little bit, so it will look like a standard pyramid shape, although these days that this stuff is changing as we have a lot of baby boomers. However, doesn't matter for now. Let's ignore that reality for now. So I'm just going to say here, this is 3, this is 6, maintain that, and then here will be 13, and this will be 19, here 19, 13, oh, this is 12, and here maybe we can do 4, and here this will be 7. Now let's give it a little bit of different values here. It will be 24, and 14, 13, and this will be 10, and here we have 9. Alright, so if I save this now, we have these, but these need to be converted now into a negative value. So for that, we're going to create a mini function here, just to make sure that this will be converted accordingly. So what we're going to do here is basically a, I guess, female data point converter. I'm not sure what's the right term, but that will be for now. And what I'm going to grab is here, I'm going to grab this, and I will say here, the constant, and this constant will be female. We're going to grab all of these, alright? And then what I want to do here, I want to convert them. So we need to create a blank array. So we say here, female data equals blank array. And here we're going to use a for each function. So here, we're going to grab this array, and this we want to loop through a for each to make sure that every of these items will be converted. And what we're going to do here is basically this. We say every item or element, let's call it an element, can be a data point, it doesn't matter. This will be looped through basically, and what we will do is this. We want to push this value in here, but we want to make sure it also converts into a negative value. So it will become, this will be always minus. To do this, very simple, you will say here, you get the female data, and then you say here dot push, since you want to push it. And what we want to do here is we want to grab this element, which is basically all of these values, which it loops through, and then we multiply this by -1. Very straightforward, nothing fancy here. So once we did this, semicolon here, and then we can check if this works. We make a console log, and then we say here female data, which should have now the negative values of this array. Save this, refresh, open up the developer tab, and you can see here we have an array of 7 data points, and these are all from the female, and now they're all negative. Alright, so now we have this. So every time we want to put it in here, and this automatically converts it without interference or a mistake from a user input. Because you can imagine if we have to be aware that we have to put negative values, you will have a chance that you make a mistake. So we grab this, we put in this value here, because that's the array. I'm going to remove that one, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have the first part here. But because the data is in a negative, the tooltip is negative, and the axis here recognizes this as well. So what I want to do here is basically visual representation. I want to make it look positive, but the reality is that we have a negative value here. So basically we convert it into a negative, but when we look at the chart, it must look as a positive value. And that's what we're going to do here. And I realize that this one is quite huge here. That might be even better if this would be just 20. Alright, that looks slightly better. Alright, so what we're going to do now is, we're going now here in the tooltip. So what I'm going to do is here, we're going to create a new tooltip block. To do this, all we need is the following. Let's go here in the options, and in the options you can see this is the curly braces. I want to put in here a comma, and then I say here plugins, and in this plugins I'll say tooltip, and the tooltip, or we can do this here, but I want to just put in a comma just to make a tooltip block. So we say here block tooltip, and in here constant tooltip, and the reason why I'm using this here is because we have this comma. So basically here is tooltip. Yes, and if this is allowed in EX6, if we are allowed to do this, or if the constant equals the object itself, we can just use a shorthand tooltip comma. Alright, so we say here equal curly braces, and then in here we will do the following. We're going to create here now the tooltip. First thing what I want to do is when we hover over these, I want to make sure that this is aligned, or the cloud here, this tooltip, should be here up, pointing north. And this caret, basically this triangle, we will call a caret, should be pointing south or to the bottom. Alright, so that's the first thing, just to make it look a bit more appealing. So I say Y align. Here, the tooltip is at the bottom. If I save this now, refresh, you can see now this works, and this is also a confirmation from us that the item is working accordingly. Alright, so we have this now, and you can see because this is not 100% in the center because of the structure of it, so that's the only thing we cannot fix, but this is probably the best we have for now. So alright, so this looks now good, we have this. Next thing what I want to do here is now work with what we can call the callback, or what I want to do more is you can see here the title, which is the age. Let's put the age in the center as well. Final part of the aesthetic. So say your title align. It's just straightforward. Here, center. Save that, refresh. Now it's in the center. Alright. So now final item here is the callback. So we're going to work with the callback in the tooltip. To do that, we're going to say callbacks. So if you're not sure why callbacks or callback, please check the documentation in chart.js here. So we're going here in the configuration, and then we go here into tooltip, and then we're going to search here the callbacks, which is with S. Sometimes it is without S, so you have to double check them here which term they use. This is the part that you must use from the documentation. So there's no reason or no explanation for that. It just is as it is. So we have this callbacks. So we are in the callbacks. What we want to do here is basically we want to focus on the label. You can see here the label, and what we really want to do is we don't want to adjust the square boxes. That is fine. We don't want to adjust even the text female, but we want to adjust this -7 here. So what we need to do is we need to look through the entire tooltip and grab everything and maintain everything, but only convert the -7 or the negative value into a positive value. That's the only thing what we're going to do. We use a formula for that. Very similar as what we did here above with the for each. Alright, so we're going to do it here, and then we say here label, because this is the label section. To make sure you understand this, just we adjusted the title, which you can see the bolded font which we centered, and then underneath is the tooltip body. The tooltip body consists of a square color, which is the color square, and the label. And the label is the female text and the number. So that's what we're going to do here. So that's why here label, and in here the label, what we're going to do now is grab or make it a function first, because it's a function, it's the context. We need to get the context so we understand where we can get the value. So let's export the context first. So we have console log, context, and if I save this right now, you will see that the tooltip is blank. But we have this here, and you can see now, if you hover over this one, for example this, If I hover over it, you can see it moves here, and then if we grab this here or open up this, you can see the following. It shows here the data set with the label female. That is basically what we need. So if I open up this, we grab the female, and we get also the data value here. But you can see here as well, we get the raw value here, which we can grab. We can grab the raw value, and we get the data set label. These are the two items we need to get, but this one we need to convert back into a correct calculation. So let's start and do this. Basically here, if I would say here .raw, save, refresh, you can see here it's 3 and minus 4, which is correct. Then here again, it's 6 and minus 7. Minus 7 was the female part and 6 was the male part. So you can get, as we move up and down, we get all of these values here showing correctly the ones we need. So what we're going to do here is basically this. So we have the raw. So we say here, first of all, let's return. What are we going to return? Well, basically, we're going to return the following. Let's make this here. We're going to put it here, backticks. Very important here, backtick. So what is backtick here? It's just below your escape key on your keyboard. Backtick is different from single quotations because here we're going to use what we call template literals. So we are able to write variables and text immediately in JavaScript, and it's easier to read. So it's basically more friendly to read for you. So we're going to grab this, and we can say here is basically, let's grab the label first. That's the one I wanted. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to put in here, and here if we let's look at this one more time. I'm going to save this, refresh. All right, and then we go here. We want to have in the data set, and then we will get here the label. So data set label. So in context, data set dot label, save, refresh. Hover over, you can see male, female. All right, we get all this, so we're going to grab this specific command here. To do this, because normally you might be able to do a concatenation where you do single quotation plus and then etc. etc. I don't want this because it's harder to read. So we're going to use here $, curly braces, and then we copy this, paste this, and now if I refresh, you can see here now we get the male and female. So this is correct. We get all of this. And now what I want to do is get the value as well. So we're going to do this one. So then here, all we have to do here after the curly brace, we can do a space. And normally we have to do plus this, and then plus, and then you would do that, something like that, which doesn't make sense. It's far too hard to read. This is easier. Then we do here, $, nope, and make sure we have the curly braces. And here we have this. So if I save this now and refresh, there we are. So we get everything exactly the same except here, semicolon here. Make sure we have these semicolons, 2 semicolons here. The only thing which we don't have is the conversion of it. So what I want to do here is I want to convert it. So every negative must be instantly converted into a positive. Luckily, in JavaScript, we have a math command to do this. To do math with capital M dot ABS, which stands for absolute value, which would mean that it will convert every value. No matter if it's positive or negative, it will always push it into a positive value. So if I save this now and refresh, as you can see here now, our console log is fine because we have this here. We only get the raw value, but here we converted it, and you can see our tooltip always shows now a positive value, which is beautiful because now we solve the second part of our issue. The final part here is of course the axis. So let's start and explore how we can do this. So I'm going to remove this now because we're done here with this part. Refresh, you can see here everything works nicely. Console log is clean. So now the final part, and our final part is basically in the scales. So we go here down in the scales and we're going to check now what is the next part. So what part are we really going to pinpoint? It is not the scales, but it's the ticks in the scales. And the ticks are these items here. And which ticks part? Well, let me show you exactly where. So if I scroll down here to the axis, go here to the axis, and we're going here, going to the ticks. So if I scroll down here, we have the x-axis on the scales. Let's search here. The ticks. Alright, let's click on this. You can see here options, scales, and what we want to figure out or pinpoint is the x-axis. So it's x.ticks. So what we will do here is basically here in the x, And then here, we want to maintain the stack, so comma, and then we say here, ticks. And in here, we're going to use another command, and this command is basically a callback as well, where we do exactly the same as we did here above. So what we need here is the callback. You can see this is the callback without the S. In the x-axis or in the axis, in the scales, without. Why? Well, I have a suspicion that probably there's only one x-axis and there are multiple tooltips, so that's why a callback is only pinpointed on one x-axis. Although the ticks, you might say, well, ticks is plural, so this should be also plural normally. Alright, but of course, I can't say why or what. That's the way it just is. So make sure you always check the documentation with this. So once you did this here, you put in the callback. And in this callback, you're going to say here another function. And this function will grab, you can see here as well, if you click here, if I read on this here, you click on this, you can see here the value, index, and ticks. This is the one we need here. And basically, we need this callback function with this information here. Function, value, index, and values, or ticks. So what we're going to do in here, basically this, value, index, and values. And in here, all we want here in this case is just the value itself. Nothing special. I'm going to grab this one, put it in here, and here we say return. We can also check this. Let's recheck this first before we even return something. Console dot log. Say value, save that, and let's see what happens here. If I hover over it, you can see here it shows every value here. And if I refresh again, it shows instantly all these items, which is basically on the ticks itself. So there's no hover effect because the ticks should be shown instantly. So we say here then, alright, so we grab this so we can basically get this wonderful function here. If we put this in here, the math absolute value, save this, refresh, you can see now everything is positive. So we can just grab this here and we just want to return it. Here we don't need the template literals or the backticks. No need in this case because we just get immediately the value. There is no single string of text needed. I'm going to remove this console log now here. Add this up here, save this, refresh, and now as you can see we have a very nice pyramid chart in chart.js where we have the tooltip matching with a positive value. Everything is positive. We have male and female next to each other beautifully, and we have the x-axis also in a positive value. And what we did as well is to avoid any mistakes. We force basically you as the user or the person who would develop it should insert here only positive values, and these will be converted into a negative value automatically with our function here. So beautiful. This is all exactly as we wanted, and what we could do maybe here is to give it a solid color. We're going to change this one here. This is the background color to number 1. So we have a solid color here. Oh, sorry, not here. No, this is not what I want. Sorry. I want to go down here. Here in the dataset, background color, number 1, and here, number 1. Save this, refresh, and now we have this very nice solid color here with the center a slight line here, which is perfect, and that looks beautiful. We could even make this nicer to make this the border radius, so we could give it here, comma, border radius 5 pixels. Oh, sorry, 5. If we save this here, you see we have one side with nice rounded side, other side not, and the reason why is we need to assign it as well. So comma here, save that, refresh. Now both sides left and right are rounded while the connected side is not being ignored. Beautiful, and this is the way how you can create a nice pyramid chart in chart.js. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in chart.js, check out in the description box the link directing to my chart.js course where you can learn everything about chart.js. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.